Hello, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Freddie Shaban, and I just published my second book titled How I Made $1 Million a Year as an Upscale Escort using the business system I developed specifically for the escort business over a 30-year career, which 20 of them were online. In the book, I discuss the perfect escort and what qualities needed in order to be a good fit for this business. As we all know, not everybody's made for this business. It takes a special kind of person, somebody that's organized, somebody that's dedicated, somebody that's really serious about making money and changing their life. Somebody is willing to do what it takes to sacrifice the time, family, personal relationships in order to become very, very, very successful in this business. And that will in turn take you to phase two, which is what you're going to do with the money once you're done. So it's always good to have the phase one and phase two planned out before you even start phase one. And I discussed that in the book, How I Made $1 Million a Year as an Upscale Escort. Now, I go over the business plan from A to Z, covering important subjects such as, number one, setting money and time goals. Number one, setting money and time goals. This is extremely important. What I did was I always advised all my escorts before they started with me is to set a time and a money goal for something positive, starting a business, paying off student loans, buying a home, whatever it is that you need the money for. I always advise them to have a time and a money goal. Whichever one comes first, we stop, because I never want them to get to the point of a financial trap in this business, which is getting used to making so much money in such a short period of time they can never get out of it. Step two, I discuss escort types. As you know, there's plenty of different types of escorts. There is domination escorts, there is fetish escorts, there's also body rub escorts, there's GFE escorts, there's sugar daddy or exclusive arrangement escorts. So I go over that in that chapter on what escorts are what in this business. The next chapter, I discuss the escort services that the escorts provide. In my case, we sold GFE exclusively, and in the book, I explain what that entailed and how we offered that service with some extra services included to the escorts that actually like doing that in their personal life. The next chapter, I discuss NLP, which stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, aka brainwashing. And I used that technique when I was converting one of my VIP escorts into a sugar daddy, or what I'd like to call it, an exclusive arrangement. This is very important technique that I developed, and I go over it in this chapter. I share with you some of my secrets, if you will. Incidentally, just so you'll know, I never ever in my whole entire career ever thought that I'll be doing this, right? This was not planned from day one. This happened because of necessity. And my goal is to educate, inspire, motivate as many people as possible to stay safe. And another mission of mine is to try to legalize or decriminalize prostitution in the US. It should be legalized and decriminalized, in my humble opinion. So this is one of my missions also. I further go, next chapter, I talk about travel. And if an escort has traveled extensively, they know what's involved, how much is involved. I really go into detail in this chapter on everything that needed to be done when I sent one of my escorts on a tour out of state and sometimes even out of the country. So it's a very, very important chapter that I cover all my techniques and everything that we had to do to stay safe, since safety is always number one in my book. Then I discuss independent escorts versus agency and the pros and cons in both. What I did was I kind of went in the middle there. Even though I was an agency, I marketed all my escorts as independents because let's face it, most clients do not like agencies because of the scrupulous techniques that they use with the bait and switch and fake pictures and all that. So what I did is I took the best of both worlds, right? I was an agency, but I also let the client see the escort as an independent. Meanwhile, we gave them excellent service. We did not lie about anything. We took care of them. Nobody hustled anybody. So I tried to do the most honest agency I could for what I had, okay? I further discuss in-call versus out-call. And I go through all the in-call locations that I had. I ended up with 12 of them in Orange County. In Vegas, it was mostly out-call. I talk about that. and what I had to do to set up each location. It's very important to pick the location, the apartment location, the complex location, and how to navigate all that stuff. Even decorations to the things we needed in the apartments. Very, very important, because the VIP clients that I targeted were looking for a certain level of service, and that's what we did. We provided that for them. I discussed how I chose pseudonyms for different girls or for different escorts, and what went through all that process, and why we chose different names, and pseudo bio, pseudo interest, and all this stuff. So I go through all that and why it's so important. I discuss the online content I needed to start the escort business. So what I did was, since I sold everyone as an independent, what I had to do was establish each escort as her own franchise, if you will, or her own business. So I had to have a website for each escort. I had to have their own pictures, of course, their own video clips. And I discussed the 2 video clips that I used and the difference between both and what the purpose was for either one of them. And I also discussed the other tools that I needed, like email addresses and all this stuff. I discussed that in the following chapter, which is the business tools I needed to run the escort business. Needed to have not just a website, need to have advertising ads, and what I wrote and how I wrote the ads, all the text. I go through everything from font to how I wrote the text, to where I advertised and all that stuff. So I discussed everything in detail of what I did when I was successfully advertising my escorts online. And I go through all that stuff using all these tools and all this online content to get to the right client that was our target market. I then go and discuss the most important aspect of our business, which is screening. How do you screen a client? We're not only screening for law enforcement, we're screening for psychos, for killers, for robbers, for abusers, you name it, for guerrilla pimps that try to get you to work for them. So I discuss everything that I did with my system, which was, and I can't believe I'm doing this, I'm actually divulging all my secrets and how I screen for the clients. And I talk about 2 elements, which is 1 is following the system ABC, and 2 is what I call the intuition that I developed or gut instinct I developed over 30 years in this business. So I discuss all that, and I'm telling you, just that chapter alone is worth the read. Then I go over and discuss the scheduling appointments and how to make sure your day is productive and profitable. This was very, very important. Scheduling is an art I learned over the years. And by working with 12 people at the same time on the same shift, believe me, I had to get really good at it. So I discuss the tools I needed to be very organized and the techniques I used when I was scheduling all the different clients. I averaged about 100 clients a day, and I had 12 apartments or 12 in-call locations. So I had to make sure that, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., which was our business hours, I had to make sure that everybody was booked up. We could not waste 1 hour, because that's time wasted and that's money wasted. So I go over all my techniques and how I finagled everything and made sure that there's only 15 minutes in between clients for the escort to set up and get ready for the next one. Then I go over and discuss the intimate parts. What really happened behind closed doors? Like, what do we really do? Like in my case, we sold GFE. So I discussed how we dealt with that. And I also, more importantly, I also included the do's and don'ts, if you will, behind closed doors, right? Things that an escort had to be careful with a client. Okay, it's all about safety. Safety has always been number 1 in my book. And in this chapter, I dig deep into the safest way to do things behind closed door. This way, nobody gets hurt, nobody gets ripped off, nobody gets insulted or their feelings hurt, and while giving a great customer service. So that's a really important chapter. Then I go over to what the last 2 most important chapters, which is safety and security is 1. I discussed, like I said, safety has always been number 1 in my book. Before money, before anything else. I prided myself on that. If I ever had a 1% doubt about anything, I just dropped it. There's always a long line of clients waiting to be next. So I discussed all my safety and security procedures that I followed, and I did over the entire time I was an escort agent. And last but not least, I discovered the legal aspect of the business and how it stands today in the US and the things that I did in order to avoid getting in trouble. One of the most important chapters is the 13 commandments I wrote and came up with and developed over a 30-year career. Those are the commandments that I did not break, and that's what kept us safe all along. Those are very important. Those are also in the book. I got to tell you, it's an awesome book. I cannot believe, like I said, that I've actually divulged all my secrets. I'm retired, so I'm never going to be in the business again. So this is one of my legacies, which is to include everything I've learned over a 30-year career, which 20 of them were online, in one place, right? And I also have, as much as I could, used images and used graphs and everything to make it, very visual and easier to follow and understand. So this is it. I hope you pick up the book. It's on Amazon. I also have the Audible, which has not been approved by Amazon, but I can also do it directly with you if you want. Just contact me at madamsuzanne2020@gmail.com. And also please subscribe to my channel, YouTube, which is Real Madam Suzanne. You will find me, just Google my name or whatever. And hopefully I will see you soon.